Well, as I said, I was moved up to Birmingham, and I went travel from Nottingham to Birmingham every day for about 3 months. Now, I didn't like the job, and I saw an advertisement for a commercial traveller for a firm, Alberton, Wembley. And I wrote and applied for the job, and I got an interview, and I went to see them, and I got the job. And it was to travel 18 counties, the whole of England. And they were rubber manufacturers. They made rubber flooring, cot sheets for children, anything to do with rubber they made. And they gave me a list of customers. The petrol ration was on at the time, and you could only get petrol if you got a commercial vehicle. So they gave me a Bradford van, a Jowett Bradford van, which ran on red petrol. The commercial petrol was red, ordinary petrol was not coloured. Anyone found using red petrol in their cars would punish severely. Ivan Novello, at that time, who'd got a lot of plays running in London, was discovered having red petrol in his Rolls Royce, and they sent him to prison for 3 months. Anyway, they gave me this Bradford van, and I set off from here. No, from Wembley, that's right, there was the van. And the first few customers I got to, they never heard of the firm, never heard of it at all. And I got as far as Great Yarmouth, and there was a big store there, Palmer's store. I parked my van and I walked across with my case, and there was a doorman. And he said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Well, I hope you can." I said, "I'm travelling for a firm that nobody seems to have heard of at all." And I showed him the car. "Oh, good heavens." He said, "We haven't seen anybody for 40 years from this firm." He said, "Come along," he said, "I'll show you to the different departments." And he did. He took me round, and I did jolly good business. Cot sheets, flooring and everything. So at the last department he said, "Well, I'll get back to my door now." He's an old man, very old man. So after he'd gone, I said to the salesman I was talking to, he's an old chap to be your doorman, isn't he?" And he laughed. He said, "He's no doorman, that's Mr. Palmer. He owns the whole of the lot. He's over 90 years of age, but he comes now and again and likes to stand outside just to see us coming in the shop." Anyway, I continued to travel for this firm, and I got home at weekends. And of course, by now, Elizabeth was very near to having Jonathan, and Marjorie unfortunately died 5 weeks before he was born. I continued to travel, coming down at weekends, but after about 5 months, and Jonathan was born then, he was 5 months old, we realised that it was impossible to live here. We couldn't get on with Dick, and Jack was so upset. So I rang my brother in Nottingham, and he said, "Well, I've only got 2 attic rooms." He said, "The middle rooms we've let to a couple," but he said, "You have the 2 attic rooms if you like." So we set off in the Bradford van in a blizzard. The van had got no heating, and the wind blew through the doors. It was a kind of a hatched up 3-ply body that I got on it. Elizabeth wrapped herself and the kid up in blankets, and I took whatever we got into the van, and off we set up for Nottingham, the worst drive I've ever had in my life. Anyway, we arrived eventually, and we stayed there a few months. It was very awful, really, only 2 tiny little rooms. And then a friend of mine said, "There's someone in Waldeck Road, an old man, he's got a big house, and he can't afford to pay the rent, and he'd only be too glad to sublet the house." So I went to see him, Alf, and he did. We took the whole of the house, and he just had the front room, and I think they were there for 5 years. Julie was born there. Well, in the nursing home. She went born in a nursing home, stayed with her. It was during the time that she was born there. But also at the same time, I changed the Bradford van for a car, for a Wolseley car, because the petrol rationing came off. But I didn't hit it off with his firm. I think I was with him altogether 3.5 years. And eventually we parted company. And always, when we've had children, there's always been a crisis, always. There was a crisis over Jonathan, a crisis over Julie. And so I said to Elizabeth, I'm going to start on my own. I'm not going to travel for anybody else. I'll start as a freelance designer. So I did. I started going around with lace designs, hosiery designs, carpet designs, and I started to do quite well. But I remember on one occasion, it was Christmas time, and I'd filled all the lace people up in Nottingham, and I'd got some 60-odd designs that I used to carry around in a roll. And I said to Elizabeth, I'm going up to Scotland, to the lace people there, see what I can find. Now, I just got the train fare, nothing else. No money for the hotel, I just went on luck. And the weather forecast for the morning was a slight drizzle. We got to Leeds and it started to snow. We got to Carlisle, there was a blizzard. We got to Dumfries and they almost had to dig the engine out. And we arrived at Kilmarnock at midnight instead of 7 o'clock at night. And Kilmarnock station on kind of trestles, bitterly cold, wind howling, snow howling. And as I came down the steps, I saw across the road, flickering in a gaslight, Station Hotel. And as I went up to the door, they were just locking it. Anyway, I knocked, asked for the room for the night. Oh yeah, come in. And I went into this bitterly cold room. Before, later I learned that you paid for electric fire that you took upstairs with you. You paid 2 shillings a night. And this night I didn't. The following morning, I went down for breakfast. And I sat at the table, there was another commercial there. I said, you tell me where the lace factories are around here. Which is they're down by the river. He said, you took the number 6 bus. Well, I ain't got the money for a number 6 bus. Anyway, I walked there, and I spent all morning going round, and they seemed interested, but I had to put all the designs down in various rows, and they'd walk up and down them. But by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was absolutely buzzing. And there was one more call, I always remember it, along the top of the roof, Henderson, Morton and Ingalls. And it started to snow again. I opened the door, wooden steps going up, you could hear the lace machines at the side, little office at the top with a table, little bell to ring. I rang the bell. I gave my last handwritten card to a girl who came. And eventually Jamie Ingalls came out. Well, he said, you have it's a good day to come and see us. Come in here, do eat dram. And he took me to the office and got me off full of whiskey. He said, my son-in-law told me you're coming round. He said, I bet you've sold note. I said, I've bought it to him. He said, you've sold nothing. Oh, well. He said, I'll get Mr. Brown and we'll see what you've got. So he sent for Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown came down. I didn't have to put them all down on the floor. I was sipping this whiskey, my heart started to warm up a bit. He put them on a high table and started flicking through them, fingers going up and down with his designer. So then he turned and he said, who was you asking for these? Was it 3 guineas each? Ach, yeah, I couldn't pay a 3 guineas on my heart. Eventually he said, I'll give you £50 for the lot. I said, cash? Hey, you have cash. 50 quid? Pound note, Scottish pound note. And that was the first time I went to Scotland. I went up after that for 6 years. Never came back less than 75 quid.